بله، بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته. دوستا و عزیزا، سلام خدا تقدیم میکنم به همهتان. امروز تاریخ 27 می است، 12ام روز مبارک رمضان است. خدا کنه که خوب تیر میشه سر همگیتان. خدا کنه که آرام باشین، خوشحال باشین و صحتمند باشین. دو هفته شد در برنامه نامده بودم، به خاطر وقت رمضان است، وقت عبادت است. کدام ما مصروف میشیم در دیگه کارهای خود، عبادت خود. دیگه این است بخیر. این هفته پس شروع کردیم تا که چیز کنیم، خدا پس اسکیجول رمضان خدا یار کردیم و بخیر بعد از این دیگه پروگرام ها را پس شروع میکنیم که ما باشین. او هفته دو هفته پیش که ما آمده بودم، صحبت ما که بود دوستا و عزیزا بود باره رفیوجی و اسایلی. پروگرام ما خلاص نشده بود، یک چند کلیپای دیگه هم مانده، یک چند صحبتایش هسته که ما میخوایم که تان صحبت کنم که دوستا چیز کنم، شریک کنم که چی سختی ها سر نمو دوستا میفته که و یک انسان، یک افغان ما یا یک مسلمان ما از مملکت خود مبره از طریق رفیوجی یا اسایلی که ما میگوییم، از طریق کشتی ها میاین در خارج یا از طریق رفتن دیگه مملکت ها، زیادترشان شهید هم شدن. مگر بزود دیگه بخیر یک او پروگرام که هست او را میتونم که دیگه هفته چیز کنم، پیش ببرم. این هفته که هست ماه رمضان است، اول شوی لایف ماست باره رمضان و میخوایم کم در صحبت کنم که زیادتر دوستای ما در خود خارج که هستن یا در دیگه در کانادا، اروپا، در خود افغانستان صحبت کنم باره اینمی ماه رمضان که چی ما مسلمان ها میکنیم و چی خوبی داره و چی سختی ها داره در خود ماه رمضان که هست. دوستا و عزیزا، خب فهمیدنم میفهمین زیادتر برنامه‌ام که هست صحبت کردنم در انگلیسی میکنم، کل پروگرام در انگلیسی هستم و نمور از پیشم خواهش کرده بودن. مگر از او که پیش برم میخوایم که یک سلام خدا تقدیم کنم به دوستای ما که پشتوم صحبت میکنم. السلام علیکم و رحمت الله و برکاته. رمضان تبریک و مبارکی ورکوم ټول دوستان ته که مونږه ګوري همدغه وخت که افغانستان کې هسته، همدغه خارج کې خدای کې خو اوسئ، آرام اوسئ، خوشحاله اوسئ. دوستان عزیزان، نن 12 ورځ د مبارکي میاشت د رمضان غواړم که تاسو سره خبرو کوم که 2 هفتې مخکې مونږه خبرې کړې وو د رفیوجي او د اسایلي د باره کې. پروگرام کو خلاصوی نو و زیادتر پروگرام نو د دوستان که د افغانستان راځي یا بل مسلمانان که بل مملکت نه راځي په څه سختیا او په څه وحشت باندې دیو هغه کیږي او سره بل مملکتونه او سره رای هغه کوي او سره د رای کوي، هغه باندې ډیر په سختی او ډیر په مشکلات راځي هغه ته خارج ته. او زیاتر خبر مې په هغه په باره و لخیره دا هفته خو نه کېږي، نن دغه بارې خبرې نه کوم، هغه ته لخیره بل هفته هغه کوم، همغه ادامه را کوم که خپل همغه خبرې خلاص کوم په رفیوجي او په اسایلي په باره. دا هفته کې دا زیاتر هغه مې په رمضان په میاشت لپاره ده او غواړم که خپل دوستان سره او زیاتر د واړه کې یا خپل دوستان که همدغه امریکا کې خارج کې پیدا شوي انګلیسي کې صحبت خبرې کوم. په دې خاطر دوستان ویلي وو که کولی شي همدغه پروګرام د بیخي انګلیسي کې وکوه او ما هم انګلیسي کې جوړ کړی ده او زیاته پروګرام هم که دا انګلیسي کې کوم مخ جوړم. بس لخیره موږ سره اوسئ، خدای وکړي خوشحاله اوسئ او آرام اوسئ. Dear friends and family members, I want to thank you all for watching us and for watching the program. I know I was absent for the past 2 weeks, and that's because of the new change in time. This is the holy month of Ramadan. We are on our 12th day, and we're almost there, halfway there. So please have patience. It's a blessing month. It's a great month. To be honest, I always look at it being a fun month for me because usually you're so busy working and you're going to school You know, you're in the morning, you're just kind of fighting hunger and thirst, but when it comes to nighttime, you know, when you break your fast around Maghrib, and then when you go out, you know, for those who go out and do Isha prayer, and then you stay over and you do your Taraweeh prayers, you know, that's usually the funnest part for me, because I get to go ahead and be connected to you know, God Almighty, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and you know, and connect with Him on a stage where it's just me and God as well, and not just that, but then you have actual community members who are all surrounded in that one masjid, and this goes around everybody, you know, all around the world. We have, as we know, over 1.8 million Muslims in this world today. We make up for over 1/4 of the world population, and that's about 24% of the world population as well. And that's you know, it's a high number. So there's a lot of us out there that actually go out and you know, meet one another and enjoy this blessing month of Ramadan. And for those that are here, for those that, you know, that do go out and pray, please remember, you know, this is a blessing month. This is a month where we want to repent. We want to ask forgiveness, and we want to ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to forgive us for all our sins, our deeds, and anything that we want to implement new, any rules or structures or anything, any new habits or bad habits that we have. This is a good time to get rid of them, because this is the month that will make it much easier for you and much smoother for you too. So I know my last talk that I had given was two weeks ago, and that was geared towards the refugee population and the asylees as they come to the U.S., as they come to Canada, you know, South America. You've got Europe, you know, folks from Afghanistan. You've got people from other Muslim countries like Syria, Iraq, that are trying to flee their own country due to war reasons. If you look at it now, we have, you know, I discussed about the importance of, you know, what it was like for those families, you know, the struggles that they went through, the tortures that they, you know, that they end up going through, the starvations that the family goes through, the child goes through, you know, their form of neglect, where the child or the families, they don't get enough safety. They don't have a shelter. They don't have a shelter to stay at. They're usually put in camps. It's very bad, and it's very hard for us as Muslims to see that, to see all the Muslims struggling around the world. And that's going to be a talk I want to finish up maybe next week. Going forward for this week, I want to make it much calmer and much pleasing. As I said earlier, this is the month of Ramadan. This is the blessing month of, you know, us Muslims to enjoy, to cherish, and to have fun with our families, with our friends, in our communities, at all levels. This is the month of purification. This is the month of wellness. This is the month of peace. So let's go ahead and let's talk about, you know, this month and what is Ramadan and how is it observed. You know, how do we observe Ramadan? And during Ramadan, you know, a lot of us Muslims all around the world, we neither eat or drink water from dawn up to you know, sunset. You know, it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. You know, one of it is, as we say, it consists of, you know, fasting. And that's what we're doing right now. We're in the holy month of fasting, where we're all, you know, guided by Allah Subhanahu wa Taala as one of the fard for us to complete our, you know, our journey in this dunya and in this world, as we say, is to do fasting, and which, you know, which has been given for the sake of Allah, while the intention is to teach patience, sacrifice, and humility, to give us humility as human beings. And before we go on, I want to also say that before we start off on discussing more about what, you know, the month of Ramadan, we want to share a video, and that video is going to be about, you know, why fasting, by you know, brother Noman Ali Khan. He is a very good speaker, a great scholar in the Muslim community, and we will come back as, you know, we talk about, you know, Muslims asking forgiveness in this month and how important it is, being able to pray for guidance, for help, refraining from everyone's evils, sins, such as speaking or such as, backbiting. So if you are somebody who is constantly talking about somebody else, who is constantly, a youngster who is drinking out every night, who's out in the streets doing things that are sinful against the religion, it's never late. Islam is the religion of peace, and it's the religion of mercy and respect and love. If you can do that, let alone trying to get away from the gender biases, the cultural factors. Just Islam itself teaches us a great deal of actions and principles. As long as we practice that and we get rid of the cultural side and the gender side of what Islam actually does teach us, is beautiful. So before we start and we go forward into our discussions, let's take a look at this video and we'll come back. Thank you.
Bismillahi wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum Quran Weekly. This is your brother Nouman Ali Khan, hopefully with a reminder for myself and all of you on the upcoming Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. And I wanted to share with you some insights from the Quran that I particularly find very, very powerful. All of you know, or probably most of you know, that in the Quran, the entire discussion on Ramadan and on fasting is actually encapsulated in one small section in Surah Al-Baqarah. This one passage deals with the subject comprehensively, and the legal aspects of it and the spiritual aspects of it, and all of it's done in this one concise passage, and it's not mentioned anywhere else in the Quran, which is very powerful. So when we look for guidance and advice about the month of Ramadan, obviously the logical first place to start is the Book of Allah and to turn to this passage. And in this passage there are a few ayat that deal with sometimes the technicalities, what days are you supposed to fast, until when does the fast begin, when does it end, if you're sick, etc., the legalities of it. But on the other side, Allah Azza wa Jal also mentions this phrase that comes up, la'alla. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the word la'alla first, and then inshallah I'll share with you some really beautiful things that I find fascinating. The word la'alla in Arabic actually means several things. It means so that. So Allah will say something, and at the end of His statement He'll say la'allakum, so that all of you, such and such and such. So whatever Allah said, the purpose of it is after la'alla. Whatever guidance Allah gave us, like Allah gave us the month of Ramadan, and at the end of giving us the month He says la'allakum, so that all of you, and then He'll complete His statement. So it's like the purpose of Ramadan is being told. La'alla also means hopefully. Hopefully. In other words, I've given you this, hopefully you'll do that. Whatever guidance Allah has given us, in this case the month of Ramadan, the institution, the law of fasting, I've given this to you, hopefully you'll benefit from it in this way. In other words, I gave this to you for this purpose, and secondly, hopefully you'll attain that purpose. You know what that teaches us? It teaches us that just because you and I fast, that doesn't mean that we're going to attain the results we're looking to attain. There's a hope that we will, but it's not a guarantee. So the word la'alla does that hopefully it will be attained. And la'alla also means perhaps. So there's a possibility that you will attain it, but it's not a guarantee. But since the meaning includes hope in it, raja in it, what that does for us is it makes us optimistic. On the one hand, there are no guarantees that in Ramadan, whatever Allah wants us to achieve, we will achieve. But at the same time, there's hope in all of us that has been placed. So with that brief introduction, let me share a couple of things with you. First thing Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, la'allakum tattaqun. Those of you who have iman, fasting has been made law on you, has been prescribed upon you, just like it was on people who came before you, so that you may attain taqwa, you may become conscious. So that you may become conscious. You may become cautious and aware. Taqwa in Arabic is an urge to protect yourself, to watch out for trouble. It comes from the word wiqaya, which literally means protection. Like we say, waqina adhab an-nar, qi, that part of that dua, that supplication actually means protect us from the punishment of the fire. So Allah says, you were given fasting, just like it was given to people before you. Hopefully, you people will develop the urge to protect yourself. That's how I'm going to translate it first. Also, I gave this to you so that you develop the sense of protecting yourself. Then, chances are you will develop. There's a possibility you'll develop the sense, the urge to protect yourself. The first obvious question is, protect yourself from what? Protect yourself from landing yourself in further trouble. Protect yourself from putting yourself in loss, from disappointing Allah, from disappointing the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from disappointing yourself. You'll protect yourself from all these negative things, and that's why fasting is given to you. So in this first video, I briefly want to talk to you about this idea of what's the relationship between fasting and taqwa from perhaps a psychological point of view, and then we'll conclude. Maybe in another video, inshallah ta'ala, I'll share with you some other insights about fasting in Ramadan. So Allah, when He gave us fasting, subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's a physical thing. You feel it. Like, even if you're not a very spiritual person and you're fasting, you're going to feel the thirst. You're going to feel the hunger. It's a physical thing that you feel, right? And your stomach is screaming at you. It's telling you, feed me. Your throat is yelling at you. It's telling you, feed me, give me food, give me water, right? So there's this battle going on inside you, a physical battle taking place inside you. And then the only other entity inside you is your heart. And it's like your heart is in charge, and it yells at your stomach and it yells at your throat and says, you watch it, not until Maghrib. We're not going to disobey Allah until Maghrib. We're going to protect ourselves from eating that food and drinking that drink until that time. So there's this war raging inside your body, and your heart is in control. Your heart fears Allah, and your heart says, no, we're not going to eat this, we're not going to drink that. I know fasting has to do with more than just eating and drinking, but I'm focusing on the physical aspects that at least everybody feels. Everybody feels thirst, everybody feels hunger when they fast, okay? Now, think outside of fasting. You're walking down the street and you have an urge. One of you younger guys walking down the street, you see a woman pass by and your eye just goes towards her. And you fail to lower your eyes. There was an urge, just like your throat had an urge and your stomach had an urge. Your eyes had an urge. They wanted to look. But when your stomach and your throat, they had an urge, your heart was telling them, stop. No. You will not quench your thirst. You will wait until the right time. But when your eyes look towards the wrong thing, is your heart in charge, and is your heart telling you immediately, hey, don't even raise your eyes. Look the other way. Say astaghfirullah. Not until Allah gives you the halal option. Not until you get married. Not until Jannah. Not until later. When what Allah has is better for you, even if you have to wait for it, even though your urge, your thirst, your appetite is very strong, even though that's the case, you have to stop yourself, you have to protect yourself. That doesn't happen for most of us. We don't stop. We look, we feel bad later, then we go to Jummah and say, man, I'm really messed up, and the cycle perpetuates. Ramadan is an opportunity, 30 days in a row, your heart is in charge and your body is submitting. The consciousness of Allah is alive and your body is submitting. You know how like Jummah is a good spiritual high, but then you have 6 days. But what does Allah do in Ramadan? 30 days, you are winning this battle. And by the way, one of the primary drivers that makes you lose this battle is shaitan and his marketing to you, right? He just keeps telling you, come on, just a little sip. Just a little bit, just taste a little bit. Just look a little bit, just do a little bit. It's not that bad. At least you're not like that guy over there, But all of that will disappear for you in Ramadan. If you go through a 30-day rigorous process like that, it's like your heart, that the command of the heart has been made strong, and the urges inside you have been made weak. They've been made weak. Now you're prepared truly to protect yourself when you're out there in the real world. So the last example I'll give you before, inshallah ta'ala, I share the rest with you in another session. Police officers and like firemen and military, these people when they train, they don't go actually into a burning building and train. They first go to like these training facilities and they do mock exercises and they get ready for the real thing, and they go to shooting ranges and they shoot. They practice before they hit the real thing, right? Before the real enemy strikes. It's kind of like that with Ramadan. 30 days Allah put shaitan away, right? And He allowed us to train ourselves to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And now that your training is done, you're not always going to be inside the training campus. The police officer is going to have to deal with the real dangers outside. The fireman's going to have to fight the real fire. Just like that, we're going to have to fight the real enemy, the shaitan, and his command over our nafs. We're going to have to engage in that real battle once that training is over. That's when we're going to need to learn to guard ourselves, protect ourselves, make our hearts these strong forts that shaitan cannot enter into. So that's, it's the spirit of لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. You've been given this institution of fasting so that you may be able to protect yourselves. May Allah Azza wa Jal make all of us people that are able to protect themselves in and beyond Ramadan. And may
Dear brothers and sisters, welcome back. I hope that was informative. It was educational. Norman Ali Khan is a very great speaker in the community. He's an amazing scholar. As you look at him, he discussed about the importance of fasting, the importance of practice, the importance of patience, and how the 30th day of Ramadan is one of the most critical days where, as Muslims, we can come together, for one mission and one purpose, and that is, to please Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and not just that, but to build a stronger connection amongst ourselves and God Almighty. And that's where the message is from. In doing that, it's never easy. It's like a good example is he gave was, if you want to do something in life, for instance, if you're a firefighter or if you're a police officer, law enforcement doesn't give you a gun and a badge and say, go ahead and catch victims or catch perpetrators out in the street, or shoot people in the street, or go ahead and die down the fire that's taking place in a building. He said that you must practice first. You must practice first in a training room before you go out and implement that in turning off the fire. Same way, that's what it is. The month of Ramadan, for us to get closer to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, we need to practice. And Ramadan is that month. It's that month where we fast. Like I said earlier, we don't eat or drink water or anything we don't put anything in our bodies for 30 days straight. Daily, going from dawn to sunset. It's a process that we all have to that we all have to do. It's not that difficult. In the beginning, it is, but as it goes on, our body adjusts to that change. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala makes it much easier. It makes it easier because He has put that amongst us for all the Muslims, to change themselves for the better. Either it be giving away some form of food. If you're having health issues, that 1 month actually helps you control your hunger, what you eat, how much you eat, what you put in your body, and to help reform and rechange and transform your body into somebody much newer. It helps you detoxify your body. As a lot of us, we talk about I want to go hit the gym because I want to cleanse myself. I want to change myself to the better. A lot of us, we go out to the sauna. What we end up doing is we go to the sauna and we perform. We sit there in the hot sauna room. With high degree temperature, and we start sweating. We start getting rid of toxifications. A lot of us, we go and we eat foods that include that helps us detox. Well, guess what? The month of Ramadan does the same thing to you, folks. It helps detoxify your body. It helps clear your mind. It's a month where you go through a cycle where throughout the whole year, even when there's people all around you talking to you, gossiping around you, all of that stops. That's the beauty of Ramadan. All of that stops, because everyone gets so busy with, what the main purpose of our existence is in life, compared to going ahead and talking badly upon somebody, in the community, amongst the family, talking to them negatively. Aside from helping them, you go ahead and you make the situation even much worse. But when Ramadan comes to place, a lot of us are, what we end up doing is that we end up connecting to our Lord in our, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, to help and guide us through that month, because it's a challenging month. It's a challenging month, but even though it's challenging, it's so easy because we have the assistance of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Throughout, after Ramadan, a lot of us, we go back to our same routine. We do this, same things over and over again. But guess what? There's no barakah after that. No matter how much we try, no matter how hard we go ahead and we make decisions, even healthy decisions, great decisions for the community, for ourselves, for our family members, what ends up happening is that there's no barakah behind that, because we forget that we go back, we're not as connected to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, because we don't go and we don't pray again. We stop our 5-time prayers. We stop the principles that is put aside for us Muslims, not to cross over and hurt somebody else, we cross that and we start doing that again. We start backbiting. We start telling ourselves, you know what, Ramadan is the month we become holy with Allah, but it doesn't mean that you're holy that 1 month and then the remaining of the month, guess what? You're a brother or a sister that actually goes out clubbing all night, who is a youngster, and you're drinking all night. Ramadan comes, you say, you know what, I'm going to take it easy, but after that I'm going to start again. It doesn't work like that. You have to do your best. There's a reason why the month of Ramadan is so barakah and barakat in it, is that you ask forgiveness, you ask for repentance, you ask Allah to forgive you, forgive all your sin acts that you have committed, or your intentions that you are going to have or are going to do, to be forgiven. And in doing that, what you need to do is you need to go further and implement that. You need to look into consideration that you cannot do those things again. Try to do your best to stay away from those negativity stuff, because if you look at it or not, a lot of us we'll continue to do those things on this certain pattern, and don't realize that we could affect our brothers, our sisters in the community. Not just that, but your own personal, look at it, your own personal brothers and sisters at home, they'll start doing the same exact thing. Why? Because guess what? You've let them into something that they think it was okay. And that's because as children, as youngsters, let's say for instance you've got parents, okay? You have parents, a father who's who drinks alcohol, a mother who goes out partying and is never home. A child growing up in that household, it's going to do what seeing what the parents are doing, that's what they're going to start doing. You learn as children, you learn those behaviors, you implement those ideas and situations. That's what ends up happening. Yes, once you hit a certain age where you have a mind of your own, you're starting to think for yourself. What ends up happening is that either it goes to an extreme, or what ends up happening is it gets better. You start to think yourself, you get closer to a better group of people who you're surrounded by. I don't know if you guys notice, but there's times where you'll see a family and you'll say, oh my God, we don't want to do anything with that family. They are, they're not religious. They don't go out and pray. They're going out partying every day. Depending on what you guys do, you guys can go ahead and party, brothers and sisters. It's not about that. Depending on the environment and the atmosphere. Are you going to a healthy environment? Are you going out in an environment where it causes you problems, where every night you're out and you're doing, for instance, you're smoking hookah 24/7s? That doesn't help. It doesn't help your body. You guys are grown-ups. You guys are adults. You guys can make your decisions on what you do. But as an educator, these are the things that I will discuss, that those are harmful things. Smoking is harmful. Drinking is harmful. People do it, but people can always change, and people can always go ahead and repent and stop those habits. A lot of people, before marriage, they live a life of a single life where they go out, they party, they hang out. If you're a guy, you hang out with girls. If you're a girl, you hang out with boys. After marriage, you do the same exact thing again. Well, to let you know, things like that change again. You have to practice to realize that, once that takes place, when a marriage is solidified between a husband and a wife, you need to make your commitment to your spouse and your family. That's the number one thing. Not your friends. I know for us, when we were single, even for myself, I remember when I would go through a hard time or a difficulty time, what ended up happening was, within my family, what I would do is I would go to my best friend to talk to him about it. I'll go talk to him. I'll consult with him. There was times I had friends and folks that were not, Muslims, who were Americans. Those were decisions that, as an individual I took, kind of see, where that would guide me. But once, you get married, you come to an environment where, you have somebody who's from the same culture, from the same religion. You tend to connect much better, because you're not You know, you're not trying to get their point of view that are more, let's say, for instance, you know, they live a certain way with their family. Their parents think differently. Their brothers, sisters think differently, and they think alike. As Muslims and as Afghans, we think much differently. We have our own structures. Our family thinks differently. In order to solve a problem amongst that environment, you have to be in that environment in order to help resolve it. You can't bring, for instance, you cannot bring an expert, you know, from let's say one profession. You know, you can't bring a doctor to go ahead and solve, you know, an engineer's job on how to do, you know, how to build a bridge. You can't bring an engineer and like tell him to go ahead and help this person, you know, or take the position of a therapist. It doesn't work that way. You're good in one setting. You're good in that setting because that's the setting you're good at, and that's the setting you understand. And that's what it is, brothers and sisters. The month of Ramadan is a setting, and it's a place of time for all of us to look for each other, to go ahead and do more for ourselves, for our families, and for our communities. I highly encourage you, please, 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 if you can, to, you know, allow your kids to go to, you know, to Islamic schools, take classes, have them, you know, recite the Quran, even if they're having a hard time praying. There's a lot of us in today's world, even Afghans, a lot of Afghans, unfortunately, we don't know how to really recite the Quran, which is difficult. It's, you know, we don't know how to pray, and which is very hard for us, because our future, you know, for us to have a future, we need to implement and learn all these things. It's good to go out and educate yourself on the importance of, you know, professionalism here in America, in Canada, in Europe. You know, we want to excel every day, but also remember, you have to excel with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the end of the day. And you have to remember that it is, you know, Allah who we have to, who is the final day of judgment. We need to be ready for that, not for our employer, you know, how pleased they are, not for another person. Yes, we can help another person in getting them connected to maybe a job, on putting a student into the right track, but at the end of the day, you're on your own. You know, you want to be able to do your best to help yourself and others on the message of, you know, this important month of Ramadan, to stay connected and to stay together as a whole. So before we go on, brothers and sisters, we're going to have another video soon, but I just wanted to talk to you. You know, Ramadan helps a lot of the Muslims. You know, a lot of us feel the peace of spirituality that is devoted to, while nurturing, you know, fellowship. It's important, you know, spirituality is one of the key components of staying connected to God Almighty, and for us to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala it's one of the greatest months where we can connect with them on a better level, because we're in that month, spiritual month, where everybody asks forgiveness. You know, everyone is basically, as we say, if we go out, let's say you're in a school, or you're in a government, you're living in a country where the government's not for you, you know, that's not for you, you're not happy with them. You're one person that goes up against the government, there's no change. Well, now guess what? You have everybody, every single person amongst, you know, in that country getting up and making that change. Guess what? That change will implement. You know, that person who's a ruler will be dethroned from their crown, or the government will change for you. Same way, this is the holy month of Ramadan. So the more we pray, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you know, forgives all of our sins, you know, who are Muslims and non-Muslims in this country or in this world, to say. My second point, brothers and sisters, are that during the month of Ramadan, we have community socializations that increase as all ages gather from, you know, for the iftar dinner, and not just that, for Taraweeh, evening prayers. A lot of us don't realize the importance of Taraweeh, but please remember that it is very important for all of us to go out and pray. A lot of us don't really know the importance of, you know, what Taraweeh is for. You know, it's a beautiful month of, you know, nourishment. If you're somebody who is not able to recite the Quran Pak, the Quran Sharif, you know, what you guys can do is you guys can go during Taraweeh, and what ends up happening is the head imam of that masjid recites the whole Quran from the start to the beginning within that 30 days. So if you're somebody that is not able to recite the Quran, if you're not able to read Arabic, well, guess what? This is your opportunity to go and learn that. It's the opportunity to actually hear the beautiful verses of the Quran. You've got great scholars who lead it. You got great imams that actually explain during the Taraweeh, what the meaning of certain ayahs are. It's a beautiful display of prayer that you do. It's long, it's long. It's not an everyday thing, but it's done for 30 day of the month, which becomes very helpful spiritually for all of us. For those that don't attend Taraweeh, is also maybe because of your work schedule, and some of you might be working night shifts. And for those that for those that are working night shifts, you can perform your own Taraweeh at home when you get home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does forgive those that that have a hard time attending prayers. If you're the only person working that hour and you can't make any changes, or your employee is not going to make any accommodations, because that is not in your hand, you just try to do your best to fulfill those and have the right intentions in the niyyah. And then you have those brothers and sisters that are lazy, that don't come out and they don't go to prayers. Please do your best, because if not today, tomorrow you're going to have children. And it's important that if you're somebody that doesn't want to step forward and do that, please send your children to prayers. There's other people in the masjids. There's a lot of folks inside the masjid that will take and help your children and becoming closer to the deen. If you're having a hard time connecting, if you're having a hard time even going out and and performing Taraweeh, please, if you're lazy, do your best. Don't finish the 20 rakahs. Do the 8. Do eight rukus and then go back home. You can do minimum 8 and then maximum 20 if you want to finish it. If not, try to do your best. I know there's a lot of brothers and sisters who've become very lazy in this month. Try to avoid that. This is the month where you can actually be re-energized, and you'll feel a lot better, because you'll see so many faces, so many community faces, so many happy faces. It's whenever I go to the mosque during Taraweeh, usually when I go to Friday prayers, it feels like you see your family, friends, you hang out with them after a while. But during that month of Ramadan, when you're there, every single individual that's there, it feels very homey. It feels very good when you're there. It feels blessing. I feel you feel blessed, because everyone is there, with one mission, one purpose, and that's to do good for yourself and to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please remember that it's a good way to stay connected to your community. It's a good way to learn about others, and it's a good way to even become friends with other Muslims in the community, especially for those that are not, who are very limited with, I live in this certain area of the country. I know certain Muslims, brothers and sisters, or even Afghans that live in certain states. They'll say, there's no Muslims, there's no Afghans around. Well, guess what? This is the month where you can go out to Taraweehs, and I guarantee you, if you don't find another Afghan, you'll find a Muslim. You'll find another brother or sister who's there, for you. That will be there for you to support, and they'll be there for you to help as well. So remember that it's a good way to socialize and get to know each other more and your friends. And not just that, but in Ramadan, Muslims also access overall wellness, both physically and mentally. And that's because mentally you're getting your body to be prepared. You're getting ready mentally. Okay, I'm going to be ready to perform Ramadan. From dawn to sunset. It's a hard commitment. You're trying to eliminate your water and food or anything that's that you want to intake. It's a hard commitment, but guess what? Mentally, you become very stronger. Mentally, you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you're praying, you become more structured. You become more, your mental well-being becomes more clear. You're able to think even much better. I know there's a research that was done that said if you fast twice a week, your chances of Alzheimer's decrease, which is really good. That's for those, that actually, as you get older, and that means that when people get older, they start to produce Alzheimer's and dementia. So if you're fasting, that actually helps to decrease. One of the studies has stated that helps to decrease Alzheimer's as well. So it has benefits to it. It decreases depression. It decreases, anxiety, feeling of loneliness, because you're with other people who are not there again to talk about you, but there to pray, and you're at a setting that's very holy and very spiritual. And then lastly, before we go onto the video, the arrival of Ramadan it's greeted with anticipation and affection by a lot of the Muslims around the country. So a lot of us are very happy when the month of Ramadan comes around, because that's the month of barakah. And not just that, brothers and sisters, as we all know, as we get older, when we were younger, I know Ramadan was a blessing month for me, because I knew at the end of the month I will be getting money because of Eid. So it's a great month. It's a happy month, and it's a month that we all want to enjoy, because at the end of it, we go out and we gather around with family, friends, and not just that, but this Eid al-Fitr is coming, Adha is coming up, and this is going to be a great Eid where we will be doing qurbani, we'll be giving money to the poor, we'll be celebrating it with everybody amongst the communities. And not just that, but a lot of the little ones that are watching this, try to get as much money as you can from your family and friends, because they will not say no. This is the month to give, and make sure you give well to your family and friends as well, so they realize the importance of Eid as well. And it's those little things you don't realize, but it's always the little things, even as much as giving your kids that money, just to show them that wow, you did this. It's also a way of reward system where you can actually have them fast, but you also give them money, because that's something that we do to help encourage our youth as well to do this performance, and it's a blessing month as well. So before we do that, brothers and sisters, let's go ahead. I want to show you guys my second video, and it talks about what happens to your body when you fast. So let's get back, and then we'll discuss more about this.
What happens to your body when you fast during Ramadan? During the month of Ramadan, Muslims fast from sunrise till sunset every day of the lunar month. The Ramadan fast can be a natural and effective way for the body to detox and revitalize itself. But this can only happen if you follow a healthy eating plan and do not overindulge for iftar. Try your best to avoid processed and fried foods this month, since we only have a few hours available to eat and drink. It's very important that we make the food we eat really count. Stay hydrated by drinking plenty of water, and avoid things that contain caffeine, which will dehydrate your body and make you feel very thirsty during the fasting hours. We know Ramadan is a very busy time, so most of us tend to cut back on sleeping hours to make more time for good deeds, which is amazing. But make sure you are getting a minimum of 6 hours of sleep daily. If you don't get your minimum hours, you could become very lazy in Salah and Quran time, and that's the last thing we want. Also, please keep in mind that oversleeping will also make you lazy and less productive, so balance is the key. Here's a breakdown of what happens to your body when you fast in each stage of the 30 days of fasting. Stage 1. During the first couple of days of fasting, both blood sugar level and blood pressure drop. The body starts the cleansing process, and the first few days are the hardest, as they are usually accompanied with headaches, dizziness, nausea, and intense hunger. Stage 2. During the second stage, the body becomes accustomed to the fasting schedule, and the digestive system is able to rest. The digestive system focuses its energy on cleansing the body and healing the cells, as the white blood cells in the body start to become more active. During this stage, the organs start their repair process as well. Stage 3. By the third stage, energy levels will have increased, your mind is able to concentrate better, and an overall feeling of wellness overtakes you. During fasting, the body's healing process becomes a lot more efficient, and so the body repairs any damaged cells during this stage. During this stage, the colon, liver, kidney, lungs, and skin are detoxing by eliminating toxins. Stage 4. During the last 10 days of fasting in Ramadan, the body has become accustomed to the fasting process. Your body becomes more energetic and you experience improved memory and concentration. At this stage, the organs are finishing up their healing process, and once all toxins are removed, the body is able to function at its maximum capacity. These are just some of the physical benefits of fasting that will take place within the body. But the spiritual benefits this month are far greater than anything mentioned here.
Welcome back, friends and family. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, small clip on the importance of what happens when you fast. So they had beautifully talked about 4 things. The first thing was 4 stages of what ends up happening. Is the first stage was the body starts to cleanse, the cleansing process, which includes dizziness, headaches, nausea, and intense hunger. If you talk about it, when you first fast, you're changing. Your body's changing to something very, very quickly, and that's when you change something very quickly, your body goes in a shock mode. When it goes in a shock mode, it realizes that you're not getting the same amount of food. So when you're not getting the same amount of food, it sends a signal to your brain, and that causes a lot of panic mode. You go in a panic mode where your head starts becoming heavy. You start to get a headache. That's where you get a lot of headaches because your body is not used to that change yet. So it's very new. So it's okay. So if you're somebody who's new, if you are a first-time individual, if somebody's child is starting to fast, who has hit puberty or is close to 11 or 12, and they're starting to try out fasting, for like a day or like maybe a couple of days throughout Ramadan. Before I start off, please, brothers and sisters, remember this: when your child is first growing up, don't have them fast every single day. Have them fast a couple of days a weekend, maybe a couple of days a month. That's because they need to train themselves little by little. You want to introduce it and you want to introduce Ramadan and fasting in the most beautiful and the most easiest way, not in the most harshest way where you say, no, now you've hit puberty as well. You're 14, 15. There's people who are 18 that can't fast. Go based on their level of what they can do and what they can't do. Don't shame them. Don't tell them you're a bad Muslim because you can't do this. You're lazy, or you're fat, or you're too skinny, or you're too skinny. Don't fast. A lot of that thing there's no sense to that. An individual is required to work as much as they can in their own body parts. So remember, brothers and sisters, it's easy and it's simple, but you do your best to do it at a smaller stage as you can. Don't implement your children to just go ahead and perform something that's not according to their plan or according to what they cannot do. It takes time, so give them time, and so as time goes forward, things will start to get a little easier for them, and they'll start to learn to do things much better. And you want to do it in a very respectful and a very easy way, so they don't say, tomorrow they get up and they're like, oh my God, I hate fasting because my parents wake me up for Dhuhr. I don't want to wake up for Fajr prayer. I don't want to wake, it's my first time and they're making me fast all 30 days. I don't want to do this. Like, this is ridiculous. This is too hard. It's not hard. You have to practice it. Even for parents who have children, go easy on them. Even if you have a child who is 20 years old, try to go easy on them too. Some of them are easy, as we say, they're very, they haven't been practicing, which is okay, and it's never late. We're Muslims. As Muslims, Islam is given to us, throughout our lifetimes, and we have all of life to practice. But make sure small little increments of what we do and how we process things. So if you're somebody who's young, who's new, and who's going to, who's doing Ramadan, who has Ramadan, the month of Ramadan for you is very new, and you see that there's dizziness, there's nausea, and you have intense hunger where your stomach feels like, oh my, like you want to eat and you just can't take it, have some patience. Have some patience. If it becomes too overbearing, maybe if this is your first time, fast for a day and then take the day off, and then take maybe 2 days off and then fast again. Don't just fast, and every day you're going through this, and you're basically going to go through a torture on yourself if your body's not ready. Alhamdulillah, for us Muslims, a lot of us who are much older, we're actually used to it. A lot of you probably don't know, or you would say, it's easy. It's easy because we've done it for years now. It's easy because mentally we're all, we know that Ramadan is coming up, and your body a month to 2 months earlier is already pre-registered to say, you know what, Ramadan is here and I'm ready to go. And you're ready even a week or 2 weeks or a month earlier. Some of us look forward to Ramadan because it's something that people enjoy doing. For those that that feel so discomfort, just take your time, do it very easily and very nice, very simply. It's not hard. Islam did not make it very hard on all of us to go out and fast all 30 days because it's our first day, or if we can't do it, you put yourself through the torture. Don't. Do as much as you can, and then for those who have children, please remember, you have to let your children do as much as they can do, not as much as you can do, or not as much as you think you can, they can do. You don't know their body, you don't know what, their mind, so don't push them. Because the more you push them, the more they're going to hate Ramadan, and then the more they're going to get away from Islam as well, in that sense. Or from this practice as well. So please try to do it in the most comfortable, the most easiest way possible if you can. So the second stage of it is this, the body becomes accustomed to the fasting schedule. And then, the digestive system is able to rest now. The digestive system focuses energy on cleansing the body and healing the cells. The white blood cells in the body start to become more active, and the organs starts the stage, the organs start their repair process as well. So if you look at this, brothers and sisters, what ends up happening is that during this stage you have a lot of, what ends up happening is you get a lot, your body doesn't get as much food anymore. So what ends up happening is when we eat food, your body is constantly just going in circles. It's just processing food, 24/7, in and out. You're eating, and your body is just pumping and then just working and working and working and working. Majority of the times, your body is working to digest that food, or to fight off, to process that food, and that's where a lot of the energy is gone. As for us. A lot of us who eat more food, Islamically, it's stated that we should eat 1/3 of, we should be able to breathe one. So this is how the human bodies work. In Islam, it's the way it's put is that we should eat 1/3. We should consume water, should be the other second third, and then the third half of it, 1/3 of it should be air. There should be air, water, and food. Not just 2/3 of it food and then 1/3 of it just water, or just no water and just you're just catching air. No, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very easy, and He has said to that and it's said in a way where it helps us balance our body, because the body does a lot of things aside from just eating food and processing. It helps repair a lot of cells. It helps process, a lot of things in our immune system. The cells that that creates, that helps our hair, our facial hair, us growing as human beings. You see me like this now. 10 years ago, I wasn't like this. I didn't look like this. Tomorrow, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm not gonna look like this. I'm gonna look different. Your bodies have different functioning, but you want to allow your body to have time for yourself as well, and Ramadan allows that. And the reason why is that there's times where your body is going through so much intensity. Sometimes we have stored fat in our body, or sometimes we have fat lipids, or a lot of things that are amongst the body where it stays with us. We're not detoxified. We haven't been detoxified yet. So when we're not eating, for that sundawn to sunset, what the body ends up doing is that it looks at the human body and it says, you know what? There's no food in it now. I don't have to focus on the stomach now. I can focus on different things. I can focus on repairing, this human's, organs or cells, or I can help cleanse it. I can get rid of the bad things that is there, because usually when you eat too much, it just stays. Everything gets stayed in your stomach, or like we say, in your belly. That starts to go out, because now your body's starting to realize like there's certain things that shouldn't be there. It's not healthy. So let me go ahead and let me process it and let me get rid of it. So that's what ends up happening, brothers and sisters. I hope that helps. I'm not a bio major, but I'm trying to do my best, with my research to help you guys understand the process of how the body works, and how, how Ramadan, how we, Ramadan really helps, the mental health and the physical health of our human being as well. So now, if we go ahead, if we go to stage 3, let me check. If we go to stage 2, brothers and sisters, this is the stage where energy levels will increase. Your energy levels then start to increase. Your mind is able to concentrate much better, and overall feelings of wellness takes over as well. What I mean by that is that during fasting, the body starts the healing process and becomes a lot more efficient, and so that the body starts repairing those damaged cells, and that's during the stage. During this stage, what ends up happening is usually you have the colon, you have the liver, you have the kidney, and your skin as well. Even as much as your skin are detoxified, and it eliminates toxins. So it helps get rid of all the negativity and all the negative things that are there, and it helps nourish and helps repairs also your energy level, because guess what? You don't have any bad cells to you. What ends up happening, brothers and sisters, if you look at it, if you eat a lot, your body goes on you're eating so much where your body has a hard time digesting, and your body, what ends up happening is we all fall asleep. There's so much that your body does on the inside, it causes you to fall asleep. So what we need to realize is that if we eat balancedly, or in the month of Ramadan, if you realize, some people, they don't realize, like, we burn energy towards the later end of the day. But if you look at it, if you wake up for Sari, you still have food from the night before. So when that's digesting, we're so energetic during the day. Like, look at me, I'm still energetic right now. Maybe towards around 5-6 p.m. then I'll start feeling it, because then I'm like, okay, you know what, as human being, you need something to eat around that time. But I have food from this morning that I woke up at 3:30 before I did my Fajr prayer. So that helps me. I haven't had any food now, but if I had food, let's say again in the morning or right now, if I had food, I would feel bloated, I would feel tired, I wouldn't want to come and do anything. But because I ate earlier, now my body feels good and it feels clean, and I'm more energetic. So it's, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. So I hope you're one of those folks that works for you best. And then lastly, brothers and sisters, is the 4th stage. During the last 10 days of fasting of Ramadan, what ends up happening is the body becomes accustomed to the fasting process. The body becomes more energetic, and you experience improved memory and concentration. At this stage, the organs are finally up, their healing process, and all toxins are able to, to work at their maximum capacity as well. There are some physical benefits here. As I said, once you get towards later on, towards the end of the month of Ramadan, there's more energy actually given to you. Spiritually, you feel energized. When you're spiritually energized, you mentally become energized. When you're mentally energized, you physically are energized as well. So it's all interconnected, brothers and sisters. Your spirituality, your mental health, your physical health, and your emotional health, they're all connected. If there's a disturbance in one thing, your whole body will have a disturbance. So remember, if you're praying, if you're worshiping according to use the schedule of Ramadan, you're going to do a lot better, and you're going to do much good. And then 2 more points before we go out, and we have 2 more videos, but we'll go to our next video. I want to talk about the main purpose of spiritual month is far greater than anything else here in this month of Ramadan. And not just that, but it's a month of as we know, it's a great month of rewards as well. So do your best, brothers and sisters, to be very very involved in the community, very involved in your prayers, and very involved with your family and throughout this month. So before we go, let's put on our 3rd video. This will talk about the 4 people who can actually. I've been talking about things that you can do, but also things for those individuals who can skip fasting during Ramadan. So let's look at the 4 people who can skip Ramadan.
Who does not fast? Who does not fast? Who has a legitimate excuse for not fasting? There are 4 categories of those who are excused from the fasting. The first and the most common one is the woman in her monthly cycle, or after she delivers and she is bleeding in that portion, the nifas months. So the woman in her hayd, in her menses, and the woman in her nifas, such a lady obviously does not fast, and she makes it up later on. Now, my dear sisters in Islam, do not play around with the Sharia of Allah. Many sisters are lazy. When their menses finish, they think they can delay the fast simply by not performing the ghusl, by delaying the full ritual ablution. Allah Azza wa Jal knows when your menses finish, and you know as well. And when your menses finish, the very next day you must begin your fast. In fact, if your menses finish even 5 minutes before the Fajr Adhan, the time of Imsak, and you know the sign, which is the whitish discharge, if your menses finish 5 minutes before the Adhan of Fajr, then legally, even if you do not take the ghusl, you must fast that day. So keep this point in mind and monitor the end of the month. You all know your cycles, you all know your routines. Towards the end of the month, monitor and realize that if it finishes, wake up the day that you think it's going to finish. Wake up before Fajr to make sure that in fact it has finished or not finished. Because if it has finished, then that day is obligatory on you, and it is not allowed to play games with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the first category. The second category are men and women who are sick and traveling. And this category, it is permissible for you to fast. It is permissible for you to leave the fast. It's up to you. But the better thing to do is that if fasting is a hardship, then you should not fast. If fasting complicates your medical problem, if fasting is a hardship during travel, and you know best, travel is relative. For some of us, traveling is an hour-and-a-half drive in the air-conditioned car. In such a case, maybe don't break the fast if you don't want to. Sometimes traveling involves a 15-hour journey across the globe, in which case fasting will be a big problem. You know best. And our Prophet ﷺ said, it is not righteousness to fast while traveling, meaning if it's difficult to fast, Allah will not reward you if you're causing hardship when you are fasting during travel. You decide. If it's a piece of cake, if it's easy, then go ahead and fast. Also in terms of sickness, what constitutes a legitimate sickness? The response is common sense will tell you. You don't need to go to a doctor or even an alim. Common sense will tell you. If you have a little bruise or cut on your finger, that's not going to cause you to not fast. But if you have a high fever, subhanAllah, you need your liquids, you need to drink all day long, you need this, you need that. A high fever definitely is an excuse for leaving the fast and then making it up on a later day. You know, use your better judgment. What sickness is such that it will complicate the fast if I continue fasting? And there might be some gray areas here and there. You're not quite sure. So go ahead and attempt in the morning to fast. If you feel you're getting a more strong headache or this or that, your sickness is being complicated, then break the fast, and Allah Azza wa Jal is forgiving and merciful. Also, there are gray areas of certain medical issues such as diabetes and others. I cannot give you a blanket fatwa. Go to a Muslim doctor. And why do I say Muslim doctor? Because a Muslim will understand the obligation of fasting. Not that we don't trust a non-Muslim doctor, but a non-Muslim does not understand how important fasting is. A Muslim doctor will understand how important fasting is. So if you're diabetic, or if you have a chronic illness in this regard, go to a Muslim reputable doctor so that The Muslim doctor can weigh between, in your case, if you have a heavy meal with these and these ingredients, and then you break your fast at the appropriate time, inshallah it's okay. So the Muslim doctor can tell you this. Because the Muslim doctor has experience of fasting, and he knows the obligation of fasting. So if there are areas such as diabetes, such as other things of this nature, then go seek counsel with a health professional who understands the obligations of fasting. This is the second category, sickness and traveler. The third category of those who don't have to fast are those who are permanently sick, or those who are too elderly and weak to fast. Permanently sick, severe case of diabetes. Severe case of diabetes. He cannot remain without food for 5 hours, let's say. Khalas. So Allah's Sharia has not come to kill people or to make life difficult. For such a person, somebody who is very old, 70, 80 years old, he doesn't have it in him to fast. For such a person, the fasting is forgiven, and he will have to give a fidya, which is feeding one person 1 meal per day that he doesn't fast. And the average fidya in America is between $8 to $10. If you want to be safe, give 10. If you give $8 a day, no problem. And you have to give fidya according to the land you're living in. Don't calculate fidya based upon Pakistan or Bangladesh. Calculate fidya based upon America, because you're living here. You may send it to Pakistan or Bangladesh, but it has to be $8 a day, not 8 rupees a day, because you're living in this land. So your fidya is calculated according to this. And this is the third category. The final category, and then we conclude our first khutbah. The final category is the category that's a bit of an ikhtilaf over, and that is women who are pregnant and women who are feeding children. This category is where many women show laxity. The fact of the matter is, an average, healthy young lady who is pregnant or who is feeding should not really have an excuse to break the fast. However, if the doctor says, or if she herself feels fainting or whatnot, then yes, we understand, and so the Sharia will allow her to break the fast. Nonetheless, an average young healthy lady who is pregnant or who is feeding a child, generally speaking, should not just jump to the conclusion, I don't have to fast. Because the fasting, generally speaking, should not harm her situation. Nonetheless, let her seek the advice of her own professional counselor, and also, again, let's encourage a Muslim doctor who understands the importance of fasting. If the doctor feels, and if she as well feels, that fasting will not be possible, then she may avoid the fast, but she will have to make up the days that she has missed. She cannot give money, because her ruling is the ruling of the one who was sick or traveling. That is, she will overcome the sickness, she will come back to a regular state, and she will then have to fast all of the days. And indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. The video is very informative, very clear. It talks about also some of the factors that that doesn't allow folks to go ahead and fast. And as it mentioned, the first one was on women's cycle, when they're on their menstrual cycle. Remember that you are not obligated to fast during during those days that you're in the process of it. So once you're going through your menstrual cycle, it can be a couple of days to a week or so. It doesn't mean that you do not do it for the whole month. Make sure that that those certain days where if you're bleeding, you do not fast. But once the bleeding stops, you go back and you go ahead and you start to fast again. And that is something that you guys should know, especially for the females. Please remember this, that this is very important. There's times with a lot of our sisters who go through a menstrual cycle either forget that once it breaks, I do not want I cannot pray, or I cannot fast. Once it's over, you can go ahead and you can start your prayers, and you can start your fasting as well going forward. The second thing that they talked about was, I know a lot of us, we have a problem with this, and we usually talk to each other and we say, what, if I'm going from here to a town that's a place that's an hour away, can I fast, or am I am I a traveler? Depending on the scenario and on the situation, and depending on the severity of how difficult it is for you, though. And they talked about the sick and the traveling. So first and foremost, if you're sick, remember if you're in need of medication, and if you are not, if you're in need of fluids, which causes you to, excuse me, my thing came off. If it causes you to actually, take medication, take a lot of fluids, waters, so that you can stay healthy, because sometimes there's times where when the body is sick, it needs food to digest and to help heal, and it needs a lot of fluids. So if that's the case during Ramadan, please don't starve yourself. Don't cause any more issues, because if you get sick during the day of Ramadan, it becomes even much difficult. You have to remember there's folks who actually do get sick on the day of Ramadan, and they get it very easily, and that's because you're not going to have food in your body. When you don't have food in your body, there's times where your immune system can also have a hard time fighting viruses or bacteria. So if that does take place, some of our bodies are not able to actually fight off those bacteria, and what that causes us is it causes a lot of discomfort, and it causes us headaches. A lot of us get allergies. So if that does take place, remember that you can break your fast. If there's anything that includes medication, or if you get sick, you're allowed to break your fast, and then you can go ahead and resume your fast afterwards. The other thing was traveling, brothers and sisters. I know a lot of us, we talk about traveling. If you're somebody who's traveling maybe for an hour or so, it's not a problem for that. Depending on, let's say, how bothered and how bothered you get during that travel. There's a lot of if you're somebody who sits in a car and you get nausea and you have a headache, and you're constantly you need to eat or you need to drink while you're driving, then that's a different scenario where you can break your fast. But if you're driving, if you're good to go, if you have an air conditioning in your car, if you have the the equipments that's needed, I don't think there's a problem. Why not to not fast? I think you should fast, and which is perfectly fine. The only time you break your fast is if you don't know the schedule of where you're going, this destination that you're going to get to. If it's 5 to 8 hours where you need to take a flight and go over, you have the obligation to break your fast and not fast those days, but then you make it up after Ramadan. So those are the things that you can always do. One of the most important ones that I want to discuss with you guys is, I think it's very important for a lot of our elders. The video had talked about elders that are sick and terminally ill. If you're terminally ill, please remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forgiven and has rewarded you automatically, in terms that you're fighting something that's more than Ramadan. Just so you know, you're fighting something that's more than Ramadan, than fasting. So Allah has will forgive your sins through that month. A lot of so if you're terminally ill, please remember it's important that you take care of your health first. Allah is for those individuals that take their health. Then the second thing was, we discussed the importance of seniors. I know this is something that I hear a lot from the brothers and sisters, and they talk about their parents who are in their 70s, 80s, but they're still fasting. Remember, first and foremost, let's know this. If that's if your parents or grandparents are that old and they're fasting, let them fast. But if it gets to a point where they start to get weakened, or they don't, if you think they aren't able to do it, or if it's medically, if the doctor says they shouldn't do it, but then they become stubborn, dear brothers and sisters, especially the mothers and grandparents, please do not fast. As God has forgiven and will forgive your sins. As you get older, Islamically, Allah has given you guys a way out of it, where they said you do not need to fast. If you're in your 70s or 80s, that is not obligated on you anymore. What you can do is you can give their sadaqah of $10 to $15, at least be able to, depending on where you live, or on average what's the cost of one person's meal per day. You give that amount, and as long as you do that, your fasting is accepted. So if you're a senior or who's terminally ill, please remember, if I know a lot of our seniors are very hard to convince, they're hard-headed. For them it's important that they do fast for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they don't realize that they're actually harming themselves and they're not helping themselves. So it's so important for us to let our parents and our grandparents know that it's good that that you shouldn't be fasting if you are terminally ill, or you are if you're terminally ill, or if you're an elderly. And then lastly, brothers and sisters, I talked about women who are pregnant and women who are feeding. It said that women who are pregnant and are feeding, please consult with your doctor first. But you can fast, but there's certain to a certain degree where it talks about how much your body can take, as long as you're in cooperation with your physician and your doctor. If you're able to fast, then go ahead and fast. If you're not, don't force it. You want to make sure that you're healthy and your child is healthy. So remember, it's always important to take those into consideration, and you talk about it. Before I go on, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about fasting achievements that have psychological benefits, which include mood improvements. During the month of Ramadan, if you're fasting, I don't know if you realize, but a lot of people's mood change. It changes to a better, it changed into a positivity. They become much calmer, easier, and you must think why that is. And that's because we're so connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the month of Ramadan that it helps us, it grounds us very well, and we're all able to love each other and respect each other during that month. So you will notice a lot of people's mood, they start to change to a very positive one. And then you have your personal development and assessment responsibility. A lot of the times, with fasting, you learn to, it helps you, like I said, with this. So let me get this phone call real quick. So I've got a phone call, let me pick this up. Hello?
Hello?
Bale? Bale, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. I have a question for you today.
Yes, how can I help you? And first and foremost, I'm not a doctor yet. And my name is Wali Hanifzai. And yes, please
okay, I
ask me.
call you dear brother.
Okay, dear brother is good.
Dear brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for the beautiful show. And it's really good. I listened to it and I really enjoyed it. There is a question that I have that you talked about it last week, but I didn't get a chance to call you. Some of our young generation that they finish school and they want to go to continue college or university. I have talked to some of the people that their parents get involved with what they want to do. For example, I met a girl last week, and she said she finished school and she likes to go to college or university. Then she likes to be a nurse. But her parents want her to be an engineer or a doctor. So she said, I don't know what to do. If I don't do what my parents did, then they're going to be upset. But I like to be a nurse. What's your suggestion for parents to in this case that the kids want to do something and then they want them to do and they force them to do something else? I think they're not going to be successful in their life if they do something that they don't really like. So if you could talk about this and what's your idea about this?
Inshallah, well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for watching the show, and I'll answer the question. Wa alaikum assalam. So thank you very much for the call, sister. So your question was, there's a young girl who wants to become a nurse, but the parents are not favorable. They don't want the child to become a nurse. They want the kid to be a doctor or an engineer. which again, like I said, this is a cultural thing for us, where we push our kids to become engineers or doctors because that's something that was very successful back in Afghanistan. You know, in Afghanistan, a lot of parents, you know, a lot of people actually had a good life if they were engineers, doctors, or attorneys. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you this. I mean, I'll be honest with you on one thing. I do a lot better than a majority of people. I'm a young guy, but I do very well in terms of stability, and I'm a therapist, and I have a background in criminology and social work and public administration, but I do very good. I do, you know, if you're engineer, I do actually better than, I know engineers, but I do a lot better than engineers financially, structurally, in terms of, you know, recognitions, how much of recognitions I get in the world, or like even in the community or in Orange County. It's basically, at the end of the day, what it falls to is that, what do you enjoy doing? I enjoy what I do, and that's why I can say I'm good at what I do, and people want to bring me, or people would ask me to come and talk to them, or people would want to see me because I enjoy what I do. If I was somebody that didn't enjoy it, I would just sit there and be like, I would be miserable. I would hate my life in terms of my profession. Instead of going to work and being somebody who goes in there and like punches in and punches out, I actually go in and I actually enjoy every work that I do, every case that I take in the community. And there's the cases that I take which, you know, that revolves, or that makes, you know, that have to do a lot of research when it comes to, you know, dependency cases. I work with a lot of attorneys, and I put a lot of time into it. Trust me, I put even more time than some of the attorneys do on actual cases, which sometimes I'm surprised some attorneys don't know certain things or benefits or programs or applications that are out there, or laws, which actually I had the chance to go over because I enjoy what I do, and that's, you know, and I enjoy serving for the community. I enjoy educating the community, and in order to do that, as you enjoy things, you get better at it. And you know, when you get better at it, it becomes very easy. Life becomes very easy for you. You enjoy life fully. You interact with people. Your relationship with your parents is much better. Your relationship with your other people around you is much better. Your patient is, you know, your client is served well. So for this sister who's young and who wants to be a nurse, and the parents that think, you know, engineering and doctor is the only way, unless this is something culturally where you want your daughter to become an engineer or a doctor because they have more value, worth. To be honest, let's be real. At the end of the day, nobody is worth as much. You know, we're all children of God. At the end of the day, you know, you're not going to take your wealth or your title in the hereafter. No one's going to know you full on, you know, they're not going to talk about you all the times or anything. You have to talk. Majority of the times, we don't talk about an individual and about their professions. A lot of the times, people, you know, when they pass away, we talk about their characteristics of what kind of a person they were. Were they a happy person? Were they full of energy? Were they depressed? You know, I know physicians where, I mean, family friends too, where sometimes I have family friends who tell me, you know, here, this so-and-so is a physician, but they're very bad. Nobody liked them because, you know, he hated this job, or not just that, but people hated him. Maybe he was, you know, he wasn't a people person. But then compared to those who didn't have a profession, who worked at a store, but you know what, they're full of life. People wanted to go to their homes. They wanted to enjoy what they were doing because those were folks that actually enjoyed life. Same thing, to make it very short, if your daughter wants to become a nurse, and for those who are out there who's pushing your kids to do a certain, to finish a certain degree, please step back a little and let them do what they want to do, because nursing is a great profession in today's world. And not just that, but actually they make good money. Nurses make really good money nowadays. So if you think that nurses aren't going to make good money, you should do some research as parents, look into programs, look into their salaries. As far as I know, nurses do really well. So to say that we need more nurses, and for those Afghans and friends, please allow your kids to to do what they want to do, because at the end of the day, you should be happy in what they do if it's something positive. You know, as a nurse, you're working with somebody every day and you're doing very hard things compared to doctors. Doctors, you see a client and that's it. Nurses, you're actually there. You're working with a client. You're doing IVs. You're helping them get up, and you're helping with like PT. There's so much that goes on and on. So please remember, the reward is much more than it would be, I would say, to a doctor. Because a doctor, you come in, a regular family physicians, you check to see if they're sick or not, finish. Nurse, you stay overnight. You make sure that the person is breathing, the person is healthy, they have enough food in their body, and they're well nourished, and they're well taken care of. So in that, people also pray a lot too. Your son or your daughter will be prayed to for doing this profession and for having these kind of people in the world as well. So I know I made it very long, but at the end of the day, this is something that we always get. A lot of families are not for it, but please get past this and allow your kids to do what they want to do, not what you want them to do, because at the end of the day, it's going to be their life, not yours. To go ahead and change my discussion back, since we did this, actually we have one more video to show, and that's it. So I'm going to show the video. That will be the last segment of this program, and it's going to be about the benefits of fasting on the brain. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. But before that, I got a question from one of the sisters. It was given in English, but I will say it in that it was said in Farsi. They asked me the question in Farsi. So it said, در فارسی سوالتان جوابتان وقت میتونم خور شما او هفته تلفن کرده بودین و پرسان کرده بودین از قالم سمین که چطور که شوهرتان است که خانه که میه چیز میکنه بوی شراب است پیشش میه و یا این خراب است که شوهرتان اشتک خوردتان اطفال میگیره و بوی شراب که است الکل بعد اونمو اولادتان چیز میشه اونمو را بوی میکنه. اول خب با شوهرتان بیادرها یا خواره باشه که شراب می نوشین که اگه میتونین بیادرها خواره خوب چیز شراب خوب میفهمین که یک چیز خوب نیست برای هیچ انسان. ما که هستیم مسلمان هستیم، شما که شراب می نوشین معلوم میشه که شما بسیار اون شوهرتان که هست زندگی کدام سختی داره یا یک چیز سختی سرش تیر میشه که بعد اونمو خاطری رفته و شراب می نوشه. زیادتر وقت شراب که هست یا که دمابین دوستا که هستن دمابین که دوستا که می باشن شراب می نوشن و دونمو وقت که هست زیادتر ما که هستیم دوستای ما که هست شراب می نوشن ما که هستیم ما که می نوشیم بازی خاطر اونمو یک کلتور اونمو چیز است دایره دوستاست که می نوشن یا میره بیرون میره و دیگه شی تو هست که اونمو دوستاست که بیرون میره شراب می نوشه بازی خاطر که زندگی بسیار برش تلخ می باشه یا سخت می باشه نمیتونه که برای کمک بخواه که یک صحبت کنه که یک تراپیست صحبت کنه یا که اینمی خانم خود صحبت کنه که چی سختی ها سرش سیر میشه و با اونمو خاطر اینمی بیادر که هست این شراب هم می نوشه این وجهش هست. و دیگه ای تو هست با اونمو بیادر می خواهیم بگویم که اگه میتونین یا اونمو دوستا که شراب می نوشه اول خود اینمی ماه رمضان مبارک رمضان که هست که هر چقدر میتونین خود دور کنین از شراب از اینمی چیزایی که حرام است با خود اینمی مسلمانای ما و دیگه که شما که یک اشتک نام که در زندگی میتونین که اینمی عمل خود که اینمی شراب که چیز میکنین می نوشین یا عمل میتین اینمی را میتونین که چیز کنین تغییرات بیارین و با اینمی اشتک خورد خود سعی کنین و بفهمین که چی خوبتر است با اولادم با زنم که ما کنم که آرامتر شوه خوشحال شوه و از این خاطر یک شما که خانه میین در ماه رمضان و شراب می نوشین اول خود بسیار خداوند بسیار خوشحال نمیشه از پیشتان و دیگه که شما اولاد خود میگیرین و اینمی بوی شراب که برش اجازه میتین که اینمی بوی شراب در دماغش بره زیادتر وقت ریسرچ هم که است که گفته که اگر یک انسان اگر یک اطفال که است اگر بوی کدام درگ یا شراب در خورترکی بنوشه چیز کنه بگیره که کلان شه و برش اونمو بوی خوب بسیار خوب میخوره. اگر میتونین اصلی چیز کنین لطف میکنم که از این شراب دور شوین. خدا کنه که اگر کمک کار دارین میتونین که تلفن کنین با ما میتونین ایمیل کنین. مگر یا دوستایتان خوب دوستان نیست یا خودتان باید تصمیم بگیرین که اولاد اشتکا دارین باید زندگی خود تغییر بتین یا کدام سختی زندگی سرتان است که خودتان نمیفهمید چطور اونمو را جور کنین و با شراب چیز کردین عمل کردین. خدا کنه که نمی جواب کمک کرده باشه و جواب ما گرفته باشین خور. دیگه پیش از این که دیگه بخیر بریم پس در انگلیسی چیز میکنم پس ادامه میتم که چیش کنم بخیر کم مانده پروگرام ما کم مانده که خلاص شوه. نمی سوالم در انگلیسی بخیر قید چیز میکنم یک سوال چیز میکنم جواب شمیتم. got a question from one of the sisters that was asking me that her husband comes home drunk, and not just that, but he smells. She can smell the alcohol from him, and what is bad about it is that he holds the child, and the sister is asking, is that something that's okay, or would that cause any problems? First and foremost, brothers and sisters, in Islam, alcohol is forbidden. It is haram. It's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God does not want us to do. It harms our body. It causes us a lot of problems. It causes us physical problems. You can get kidney failure, liver failure. Alcohol changes your mindset. You don't have control of your own, actions. What ends up happening is that you cause a lot of family problems. You become violent. First and foremost, you become very violent towards yourself. If you hate life, if you're not enjoying life, if you have a hard time coping with something, what you end up doing is, one of the things is that as if you're a brother or sister who's drinking alcohol, it's a way of coping. And that's something that's easy for you because that's something that you were very connected with. Growing up, maybe your parents did it. Growing up, maybe you grew up in an environment that people drank alcohol. Growing up in an environment where alcohol was a solution for you to get away from reality. So for you to make things much easier, what you did was you drank alcohol. So dear brother or the sister, if you're having a hard time, please reach out to us. We can help you in terms of therapy seeking. It's not a good coping mechanism. If you're moving away towards alcohol, if you think that alcohol will solve the problem, it will not. It's much harsher and it's very bad for you as well. And the second thing is that if you're people that drink alcohol, is usually also the fact that they're in a surrounding of people that peer pressure him or her. You have to understand there are people in the world that are always peer pressured into doing something. If your friend's doing it, you say, what, why can't I do it? So you end up going in and you start drinking alcohol. What ends up, it becomes very bad. Again, it's something that's prohibited. No matter how much I say or how much I talk about alcohol, you're grown up, you guys know about the importance of alcohol and how bad it is, and I don't need to constantly just remind you that it's haram. You're watching TV, you should know this, but for those ones that are not aware of why alcohol can be very bad, it's because Allah has forbidden us to not drink alcohol, because it causes problems. Like I said, it causes physical problems, where our liver and kidney are damaged. It can also cause us problems mentally, where we start getting in fights with our partners, with our spouses, with our husbands, with the people around us, with our children. We cause a lot of problems. So alcohol is also bad in that terms. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us not to drink alcohol. And then the other thing, to answer the question for the sister that asked, is it good or not? It's actually bad in terms that if the brother can, be mindful of, staying away from the child if your breath smells. And the reason why is that there was a research done on folks who were pregnant, females or husbands that smoked around their pregnant wives. Even as much as smoking or drinking alcohol, consuming alcohol, what the research found, what the research was able to find out, that if you are drinking alcohol or smoking while you're pregnant or you have an infant in the house, they tend to, it's something that we call this an environmental effect, where it's nature versus nurture. When we talk about it, what ends up happening is that as the child gets older, when they were an infant or they were in their mother's womb, those chemicals actually go into their body. If they're smelling cigarettes or a drug or an alcohol that's in their bloodstream, guess what? The body starts to react as they get older. So if they smell alcohol as they get older, their mind will say, you know what? I've smelled this before, and it's something familiar, and it's something that's good, or it's something that I don't know what it is, but I've smelled this before, and it's very intriguing. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try it. That's what people end up doing, is they'll start trying it, and then once they do try it, that's when they get hooked on alcohol or drugs. So to answer your question, please remember that try to stay away from it as soon as possible. So if you have any more questions, please let me know, as we're gonna end soon. Please let me know. If you have any questions, you can give me a call back at 714-602-9242 here at the station. You can call me, ask me any questions. If you have anything else, you can always text me at 424-228-6797. So let's finish up my list that I was talking about. The benefits of fasting through the psychological effects of the importance of what it is, how it helps with our mood improvement. Fasting, the month of Ramadan helps with mood improvements. It helps us because we're in a surrounding of people who are there, towards a purpose. And that purpose is to help and to help yourself and help the community itself. Then we talked about responsibilities. Ramadan is a month that helps us, that gives us structure. With that said, it's a form of actually good structure that actually will help us later in life, where we can actually start to take more responsibilities. The month of Ramadan is a very blessing month. For those that have hard time keeping responsibilities, well, guess what? It's never too late. Ramadan is a good month for you to, build habits of positive habits where you can take responsibility. Where you can fast. You're giving away food. You're giving away water, and with this, what ends up happening is you can use that with your other life strategies and plans as well. I know this is another one for those brothers and sisters that have a hard time in life when it comes to insomnia, but it has also talked about how Ramadan is a month that actually helps and treats those who have insomnia. Brothers and sisters, if you have insomnia, because of the times change, because of the schedule and the intake of the food, your body is usually tired. You eat, you go to Taraweeh. When you come back, your body needs rest. So for those who have insomnia, remember, I don't know if you guys have noticed with yourself, with your spouses, with your children, but it does help treat insomnia. The month of Ramadan, it gives your children or yourself, you will have a better pattern of sleep during that month. And plus, you need it because you have to wake up again for Sehri to eat before Fajr. The other bullet point is the strengthening of willpower. that talks about strictly about the importance of how well and how good an individual's well-being is. How much, how empowered you get, how much willpower you usually have during the month of Ramadan, and afterwards, once you start completing the tasks of that is filled, your 5-time prayers, you not eating, you giving away zakat, you talking to other scholars, you're learning more about Islam. You just have this good feeling of empowerment, and that's what you usually get. The other thing that we talked about is how earlier on in my discussion was how it treats depression. So a lot of you that don't know, the month of Ramadan actually does help with reducing the treatment of depression. And that's because you're much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going to your prayers, your focus, in life, your focus of your journey during the month of Ramadan is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that gives you a lot of energy, it gives you a lot of peace of mind, it gives you a great state of being, and you feel re-energized and refreshed as well. So remember, it does help treat depression because you're in an environment, and you're not just an environment, but you're away from negativity, you're away from other people, and this will help treat that as well. If you notice or not, you start to feel better, you start to feel empowered, because now you're focusing less on other problems, and you're just, in this month, you're busy on yourself. And that's the key, is that you're busy on yourself and getting yourself better. That's what Allah does, is that it gives us a month to work amongst ourselves and to get better with throughout this month as well. So just to finish up, just a couple of points before we finish. It also gets rid of negative emotions. So a lot of that is taken out. If you have an anxiety, and not just that, but mental illness control as well, it helps overall with your mental well-being and your physical well-being. So remember, during Ramadan, other than just the act of worship, including, remember that it helps our mental health being, and it also gives us reward that we can go ahead and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not just that, but it gives us a better sense of being. So inshallah ta'ala, I'll come next week and I'll finish my topic and discussion on the issue of refugee and asylees. If you have any questions, again, please send me an email. You can text me, it's actually my personal cell phone is 424-228-6797. If not, you can call me at 714-602-9242. If there's a certain topic you guys want me to talk about. So next week I'll talk about the refugees again, and then the following week I'm going to talk about autism. So if you have anybody in your family, I know a lot of family members do deny the fact that their kids, their family members, or themselves, they are diagnosed with autism, and I'm going to discuss more about it. So if you have anything, any topics that you want me to discuss, please do let me know. May Allah bless you all and give you guys great rewards in this month of Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.